back to Solutionary TV. I am your host, Dr. Tatiana, and I am so enthusiastic to be keeping course with solutions-based media, television platforms, and amazing guests. And tonight is no exception. We have come to find that the biggest solutions have less to do. If you've been following us since the beginning, and we've just come really close to being on air for 1 year now. We're going to be celebrating the end of this month. We now know that there are solutions to every single global problem that we have been suffering and communicating and stressing about in social media and in mainstream media. And ultimately, when we look at the core of what these issues are, it has so much to do with human consciousness. It has to do with our sense of separation and isolation. And it is no longer necessary to believe that we are separate. We have the science, we have the experts, and tonight we have a particularly very gifted expert in demonstrating how close we are to being able to reclaim that type of sentient and spatial awareness. Help me welcome Schelli Whitehouse, and let me tell you a little bit about her. Schelli considers herself a spiritual cowgirl. I really like that. She studies and integrates the presence and the clarity of horse wisdom into her transformational work with her clients, with those humans. She has been a certified equine-assisted life and business coach for the past 10 years, as well as teaching equine-facilitated learning skills to other practitioners. She is on a mission to make equine-inspired transformational energy the go-to modality for spiritual, personal, as well as professional development, as popular, she says, as yoga and Starbucks. So quite an undertaking, but I think she's up for it. She is also the author of the Amazon International bestseller, The Business of Coaching with Horses: How to Reach More Clients, Feed Your Horses, and Change the World. It is presently on Amazon. We're going to have her tell you a little bit more about that later on in the show, but help me welcome Schelli Whitehouse. Welcome, Schelli.
Thank you. Thank
We
you.
have her in studio. This is so much fun for me. Having
Yes.
people in studio is always a blast. So, Schelli, thanks for joining us.
Yes. Oh, it's fun for me too.
So, we've got a lot to talk about tonight, and we are in sync very much with how our own personal consciousness is having an impact about everything in our lives, and certainly having an impact on everyone around us. And that includes the sentient life that is part of this earth experience. Some people would say to you, why horses? You know, we know that very evolved minds exist with our dogs. We all love dogs. Canines are everywhere. We could be doing this work with dolphins. So why horses? What is it that drew you there?
Okay. This is a question that I get asked all the time. Why? Oh, I could do this with my dog. Or do you do this with dogs? And dogs are also sentient beings, and they have magnificent hearts. And one of the reasons that we work with horses in particular is because they are so in tune with the earth, right? Horses are prey animals and dogs are predators. Okay. Dogs are also in tune with the earth, but they're more in tune with their human than their natural surroundings.
Right.
If we were working with wolves, that would be a different story. But they're more in tune with their humans, and dogs will love you unconditionally. Like, you can abandon your dog all day long, leave it at home, and you come home, and the dog is so happy to see you and, wants to be your best friend. And a horse demands respect. It demands that you know who you are and how you navigate through the world. And as you are holding your own space, then the horse can align with you. Okay. So again, let's go back to why horses. As they are in tune with the earth's energy, that's how they navigate the world. And they recognize that you are in tune with the earth's energy and that your inside matches your outside, right? That what you think, what you do, and what you say are in alignment. Then they recognize you as a leader, as an equal. Okay. And then they're willing to communicate with you.
So you really can't fake it, can you, Schelli?
No.
You can walk up to the horse and you can be surrounded by friends and family or have a solo experience. But if you approach them with a degree of insecurity or trepidation or needing the horse to like you too much, you may give off that falsehood to the horses that are big heart Taurus, big heart field beings. You mentioned off the air that they have this large heart,
Right.
and that is really where they resonate from. So they're going to be able to pick out those of us that are not to be unkind, but just being completely authentic. If we are not our genuine selves and we are not properly integrated in being true to the experience of the encounter.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. Okay, so you were mentioning the heart. So the heart is, a human has like a 3-pound heart. A
Mm-hmm.
horse has an 8-pound heart.
Mm-hmm.
So their heart is, and I've heard you talk about how the heart has a magnetic resonance, and the heart field, and how our energy connects through our heart space.
Yes.
Well, when you think about how large the horse's heart is, they are always connected,
Mm-hmm.
right? You think about the chest of a horse, how big it is,
Right.
right? It's how they feel
It's like
the
they're
world.
leading. They're leading with
Mhm,
their chest. They're
mhm.
leading with their heart.
So they feel everything around them, and in their environment, they can literally feel intention. They feel the shift of how people are holding them and looking at them. And people often, like you said, like they want the horse to love them. They want the
Oh,
horse
yeah.
to like them. And so they want to like send love at the horse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And all the horse feels is all this energy coming at it, and it's not
Might feel a little in discontinuity. Where is this
yes.
coming from, and why, and what is this person about? Because there hasn't been maybe a genuine and intimate connection first that warrants that kind of reciprocity.
It's
Perhaps.
similar to if you know people that are always looking for a boyfriend, right? It's like, I don't
Maybe a little bit of
understand.
desperation there.
I don't know why he doesn't like me. I
Right.
do all these things for him, and
Right. Right. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So in that context,
Okay.
that's a little bit how horses connect with us. It's a little snippet of how horses connect with us.
Well, it is really important, and I appreciate you talking about the resonance that needs to take place between the heart and the mind. Heart Math Institute, a lot of Greg Braden's work, as he has come out and toured around the world, has been quoting the ongoing study, the research, and the corroboration that when we actually have resonance, connection between mind and heart,
Right.
we not only have this amplified spatial awareness around us, but that we extend our own field, our own universal field, which kind of looks like a torus as we've seen it, in measurements and analytics. And when we do that, we are able to actually sense into the world in a way that's far less compartmentalized, which is an entrained and filtered way of being that we as human beings have done. That's why we can be a little indifferent when the poultry truck goes by and you see all of these half-conscious chickens. Excuse me, I'm sorry. All of you carnivores, I've been a carnivore my whole life, but the more that heart opens up, the more that we get this coherence between heart and mind, the clearer it becomes that we are really feeling the pain and the discomfort and the isolation that other sentient life forms are able to feel. I just saw, a recent post from a high school friend of mine that keeps chickens, and it was all about the intelligence of chickens. And, that comes back to the intelligence of pigs being similar to dogs. This isn't to change how everyone is living and eating right now. It's just to encourage you to consider we all are surrounded in a shared field. And the beauty of what Schelli is offering by having such an in tune and attuned relationship with these horses and the equine coaching that she provides is to allow others that participate in this to finally start to feel some of that resonance, to really step into the authenticity of this work, which she also claims is spiritual. So let's talk about that for a minute now, Schelli. I mean, obviously, it might seem obvious to everyone, but how do you lead in about this being spiritual work?
Okay. Well, I'm going to go back to what you said about the heart and the mind connection.
Perfect.
Okay. So the heart is our spiritual center. And when we are in our heart, when we can recognize that our heart is an organ of perception, and it's how we feel our world around us. And to me, that is spiritual. So if you are able to listen and connect to the world around you and how it's affecting you internally, that's your spiritual connection. So people often talk about, praying to the divine or praying to God. And how do you listen? And so I
Mhm.
believe we listen through our heart center, and then we allow our heart to inform our head, our intellect, our intelligence. And then it's our gut that gets us into action. So it's the three brain centers
Mhm.
communicating together.
Mhm.
And that is what I believe is, it's our GPS. It's how we navigate our spiritual connection to our higher self, our divine source, your angels, whatever it is that you feel most aligned with.
Wow.
So working with the horses is an opportunity to fine tune, amplify, get into the experience of what that feels like. So many people um, aren't quite there. Like they know that's close, or they think it's there, but they're not practicing it in a way that shows them hands down that this is the experience of yes or no, or the communication of being with their higher self and their own physical intelligence. Does this
Exactly.
make sense?
Absolutely. And the sequence that you just described was spectacular. I want to acknowledge that the sequence was not hit the brain first and then decide what you want to disseminate to heart and gut.
Mhm.
It literally was be informed by the heart first. And again, heart math has demonstrated that the largest extension of our personal energy that can be seen in Kirlian photography and far more advanced technology and instrumentation is the heart field is the largest part of your auric energy or your toroidal field. It extends the furthest out from our bodies, and it is only those that are really experiencing a lot of shutdown and a lot of woundedness and pain that are not appreciating what it is to connect with the world around them through heart first. Let the heart inform, let the heart be open and expansive and compassionate, and then we communicate with the mind, and the mind takes that information and it uses that vast reservoir to come up with some deduction that it will eventually inform the gut. And this, if this was the human state on a regular basis, we would be experiencing a new earth now, today, this very minute. Some are, and many of our viewers, they know what we're talking about with new earth. There is an ascension process that is available to each and every single one of us. That's part of the great year, and it is the alignment of where we are as a solar system within the Milky Way galaxy, and the Earth is looking to ascend. What does that mean for all of us? If she is going to move into a higher iteration of herself, and we're seeing the evidence of this with a mass, species die off and planetary changes for all of you that are paying attention and have watched past shows, we know that this is happening. So Schelli, as our equine expert, and these beautiful, um, really attuned animals that have been a companion to humankind since we really first became even slightly domesticated with our transportation, which is what they held for us, as well as companionship. What are you seeing with these horses and what they're able to convey, because their hearts are picking up on all these changes? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, yeah. So this is really exciting. And it's one of the reasons why um, I'm so excited to talk to you about this and your perspective
Hmm.
on what the horses are bringing to this. Um, the horses want us to get it,
Hmm.
right? They want us to get it. I used to say,
They're infinitely patient with us, aren't they,
yes,
Shelley?
they are. They are infinite, and they have been evolving right along beside us
Right.
for millennia, as you've pointed out, and they want us to get it. Um, And it's not like I have the horses coming to me in my dreams and saying, "Hey, Shelley, go tell the world about what's happening," and all of that. It's something that it's a knowing. And a lot of people are experiencing this knowing, yet what they are seeing and in their reality is different than what they know. So it feels out of alignment and it feels
Hmm.
incongruent.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, horses demand congruence, what we were talking about earlier. So they want us to stand in that knowing and feel congruent as we go through our incongruent lives. Okay, does this make sense?
So they would be patient that we may not be able to maintain that level of integration across the board, but when we enter into their space to be able to resonate and share heart space with us. They need us to fall into alignment with it at that time.
Right. And then the more you can do that, the more you can take it outside of the arena, right? The more you can take it out into your own life and into your own experience. And then that gives other people in your space permission to stand in their knowing, right? And then you can have more conversations like we're having right now. More and more people are having conversations about this. More and more people are having in our normal everyday existence. You're seeing more language around New Earth, Ascension, authenticity, things like that.
Yeah.
So horses are bringing that experience. So reading about it, watching videos, watching the show, those are great things. Like, yes, I know that. Yes, I know that. And then you go right back to work or your family and the conversation is not this. And how do you be with that when it doesn't feel authentic to you anymore?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. I love what you've said also off camera that I want to bring on as an introducing principle to this level of resonance that takes place, because they need us to show up more in integrity so that they can find a segue, right? To meet us where we are. So when we think about coaching on an intuitive level, which is at the basis of both of our practices, mine more, working one-on-one with individuals, there is an understanding that we need to be able to intuit and approach our lives from a place of self-awareness and self-knowing, so that when we do insert ourselves into relationship with others, we don't show up panicky, needy, default of energy, energetically vampiristic. We need to be really solid, because others will mirror us in the quantum field we're broadcasting. Like attracts like, vibration attracts vibration. Schelli, you've shared with me a couple of stories, and you please choose the one that you think is the most fitting, where the horses, when working with some of your students or with some of the clients that come on that you're trying to assist in becoming more in alignment, how the horses have mirrored their behavior when their energy was not in tune or harmonized and maybe too frenetic. Can you share a little bit of that with our viewers? Okay.
Sure. So, yeah, everything is a mirror. Everything we do is a mirror of our belief system.
Yeah.
Okay. And horses don't have any judgment around, your gender or your income level or whether you're married or divorced or, how beautiful you are. Like, they have no judgment around any of those things. So any judgment that you perceived is coming from within. It's something that you already hold and are projecting out onto the experience.
Right.
So I had an experience with a woman, and we were in a small enclosure with the horse, and she wanted the horse to come over to her. And I didn't know this, right? We were in the round pen together, and she was with the horse, and I was standing off to one side because she didn't have a lot of horse experience. And she wanted the horse to come over to her. She told me this later. And instead of going over to her, the horse came over to me, and he was like nibbling my hair and, and he'd never done this before. This was one of my horses, and he'd never done that particular thing before. He was nibbling my hair, and it's like
getting groomed.
And I started laughing, and I was like, so why is he doing this? And she started crying. And she said, because I wanted him to come over to me and nuzzle my neck. So she's projecting onto the horse what she wants to have happen. But he came and he did it to me. And then she said, this always happens to me. I see other people get what I want.
Wow. So she projected a behavior, but she believed so painfully, so intrinsically, that it would not be a behavior that would be redirected to her. The horse said, sure. All right, energetically, I'm going to go where I will be received and appreciated. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. So how is that exactly like the universe giving you what you say you want?
Right.
But what you believe is something different. So you get what you believe, not what you say.
Gosh, what a great mirror these horses are.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the depth of the work that you are able to provide as a mirror. You shared another story about a client that's energy was a little bit unsettled and how the horse was behaving in the enclosure,
Mm-hmm.
almost as a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Share that, and then let's kind of go into some of the hands-on work that you do
Sure.
with your clients.
Sure. So I had a client who was very anxious, and she had a stressful life. She was very, very busy, always multitasking, had many plates spinning at once. And this is how she described her life, as many plates spinning at once. And so before she went into a small round pen that we use with the horses sometimes, um, she's I'm asking her to get in touch with her body, just like I was talking about earlier, right? Getting in touch with your heart center and just to notice things, what's going on. And while we're going through this process, the horses in the round pen behind her just started racing around and racing and racing and racing. And I stopped her and I asked her to turn around and I said, "What is happening? What is happening with this horse?" And she's like, "That's my life. I can't run fast enough to keep up."
Oh my goodness. Oh, wow.
And so as soon as she said that, and I asked her to take a deep breath and like, let's just be right here, right now, and all of that, the horse stopped
Hmm.
and just dropped his head and just started licking and chewing. And that licking and chewing is a sign that the horse is releasing stress or processing what's happening, that kind of thing.
Right.
So then the horse was calm and she was ready to go in with the horse. And this is someone that has horse experience. So I allowed her to go in on her own. And they start out really nicely and they're moving around together. And pretty soon the horse started picking up speed again and just started racing around, racing around, racing around. And I had to ask her to just stop and stand in the middle and go through this whole process again of coming to present time. So this was an example of someone whose thoughts were constantly in the future and in the past.
Yes.
This didn't get done, this has to get done. And always focusing on all of the things that she has to do and that she's so busy, she's so busy, she's so busy. And the horse couldn't help but pick up on that energy.
Hmm.
And that was the energy it had to work with.
Hmm.
So, and it was a very sensitive horse also.
My
So the
gosh.
poor thing's racing around. So those are just two examples of how our thinking influences our environment and those and other sentient beings in our environment, whether it's a horse
Hmm.
who will demonstrate clearly
Hmm.
what your thinking is,
Hmm.
or it's other humans that we're with. And so when we're working with people in your job or your family life, um, your energy is affecting them,
Right.
right? If you have children, you know this, especially, I used to call this the hour of critical mass, when you're home and it's like 6 o'clock and you've been working all day and the kids have either been with somebody or they're finally at home and they're crying and they're having a meltdown and you're trying to get dinner ready and you're tired and you're hungry. And it's like, it's just this hour of critical mass where everybody just melts down.
Right.
And it's because your energy is not grounded and focused and calm because you have all these things to do and you're tired. And the kids are like horses. They just pick up on that energy and they're actually expressing what you're feeling.
Right.
Right?
Right.
They're expressing them, "Wah, I'm tired and I don't want to have to do this."
Exactly. And I think what you're saying is just like children in our society that have not had enough time to rehabituate themselves to filters
Mhm.
that we would maybe refer to philosophically as a hard heart
Mhm.
or as density or as armor, right? We use all of these terms in society. Um, we learn that depending on the society that we're in, the kind of family that we're brought up in, the kind of socioeconomic background, the school system, the churches, etc., so that we don't feel everything so intensely. But the natural world, and definitely as it's personified by these horses, they can't help but filter. They might turn away or move away from you, but if they're welcoming you into their field to be mentor horses in this coaching practicum, they're almost going to suffer with our density for a
Mhm.
while until we start to soften, become present, and breathe, right, Shelley?
Right. Right. So this is the lesson. This is the work for us is to soften and breathe and pay attention. Um, one of the things that we were talking about in terms of co-creating the new earth, bringing the ascension process in, is that people need to be present They
Mhm.
really need to be focused on the present, because that's our point of our greatest capability to create,
Mhm.
right? That's where all of our creative power is in the moment we're in right here.
Right.
Okay. Horses only live in the present. So this is the gift that they have for us, is to show us how to stay in the present time and take that presence with us everywhere we go, moment to moment. I'm here now. I'm here now.
Mhm.
Now we're here.
Right. And they almost beckon your clients, your students, come meet me here. I'm out at this part of the enclosure. I am overlooking this beautiful wildflower
Mhm.
garden. I am present to the sun, to the clouds, to the birds, to the insects that are on me. Come and join me here. I would imagine that they don't actually walk up and approach anyone that you've brought that has not grounded and centered themselves. When you bring them out to the barn, I would imagine that they keep a distance until they feel like they've created some degree of warmth and resonance between themselves and your visitors.
Often that's the case. However, horses have personalities. They have they have different they came with certain personalities and tendencies just like people do. And they have different roles in the herd. Horses live in a herd and they have different roles. And depending on what their primary role is, they may be a horse that will come to greet you or to chase you away, depending on what they experience from you,
Mhm.
right? Because that's their role in the herd, as a sentinel, right? So it
Mhm.
just depends on the horse's role.
Yeah.
And however, if given the choice, they will generally wait to see, what your intentions are,
Mhm.
and if you are leadership worthy. So when you are in alignment with what you're thinking and what you're feeling and what you're doing, then you're leadership worthy and
Mhm.
you are safe to
Mhm.
be with. If you are not that way, you may not be safe to be with, and you would be an impediment to the herd, and so they would choose not to be with you.
So let's expand this conversation a little bit forward. We know that our inheritance, our divine inheritance, and our blueprint as human beings that are walking this earth with so many other life forms,
Mhm.
mammalian, reptilian, insectoid, that we can have these types of relationships. Any of my YouTube audience knows all you've got to do is watch cat videos. You can actually see people that have got really absurd relationships with predator animals that make no sense. Even those that were born in the wild and raised in the wild that have somehow become habituated or domesticated and that are behaving outside of their primal directive. Insects that'll behave a certain way.
We see
Um,
this with the animals themselves too, not just with animals and humans, but animals and each other,
mhm.
different species interactions.
Absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely. Crows playing with kittens,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we'll see animals nursing, creatures young that they would never have otherwise if they had not
right.
been in that much more hormonally aligned space and time in their growth and raising their young. And when we consider what it takes to become present, because that's what it would take.
Mhm.
Is a level of complete presence. It is not I'm a predator of the past or I have been harmed by a past human or another animal that is a threat to me. It's becoming so present that we can sense the availability of what is approaching us in terms of sentient intelligence. We can trust that the harm of this particular would-be predator is not being communicated to our heart field in that moment so that we can pause long enough and possibly have a loving encounter. Or we can get closer to wild animals, birds, squirrels, insects that we would normally find flee from us because they can sense that our energy is open and receptive and friendly. What has your experience been in the work that you do so spatially because you're out in the farm and out on the paddock and
Mhm.
there's so many species interrelating that kind of speak to this
Mhm.
concept.
Mhm. Um, well, I just a year ago, I had an encounter with a vulture that I thought was, uh, for me, it was remarkable. And I named her Matilda. I don't really know if it was a female or not, but she came and she sat on the fence, um, hardly 10 feet from me.
Mm-hmm.
And I stood across from her for, easily 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And she opened her wings, which is a very vulnerable position to be in.
Mm-hmm.
And she stayed, first it was one wing, and then it was the other. And this is a common thing for vultures to do. They'll dry their wings but it hadn't been wet. It wasn't, anyway, I was absolutely astounded. So I wanted to, I didn't really know what to make of it, but I was fascinated, and I was just really, I could see like the patterns in her feathers and her different colors. And I thought, wow, you're really beautiful. Like, I never really thought of a vulture as beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, I want to see your aura. And that's something I wanted to learn how to do. I'm like, I want to see your aura. And I was squinting and I was trying to see her aura and her colors and all that. And it didn't happen, didn't work. But I just had this real appreciation for this vulture and this experience I was having. So somebody pulls in the driveway, and of course, as they're driving down the driveway, she flew away.
Mm-hmm.
I go home and I look up vulture totem in Animal Speaks. And one of the things that it said was that a great awakening is part of your experience, and that you will be able to see colors and auras. And I thought, oh my God, that's
How
incredible,
perfect.
because that's exactly what it came into my mind. I would like to see your aura. And then that was the thing that she was conveying to me, is that this is
Beautiful.
something that is coming.
Beautiful.
So interestingly enough, when I see vultures in the sky, I can see their whole
You can see a
orb.
light field around
Yes.
them.
Why
Beautiful.
vultures, I don't know, but isn't that a cool thing? So
It sounds like it's mathematically precise. It's not only, mythologically beautiful, and we know that it's culturally legend, but now it's even, that's exactly what that message was trying to bring you is, I will show you my aura and you will continue to build off of that, right? Build off of that view and perception. That reminds me of a story that I would like to share, because I really want our viewers to recognize this is not unique. It is not random. It is not haphazard. This is an intuitive skill set. Each of us have an invitation to wake up to a transitionally fourth dimensional, fourth density self into a new earth construct, as all of the esoteric teachings and mythologies and religious understandings of every walk of faith. I mean, and I've studied them, folks. This has been my quest my whole life. Agree is the trajectory of our human evolution. And if we're going to practice this, we need to practice it not only with one another, but we've got to see the earth as this beautiful connected field and all sentient life on it. There was a time where I was going through a very large ending to a familial connection, and it was powerful and it was severing, and honestly it felt like a major death. I wasn't quite sure I was going to make it through it, and I was in Colorado at the time, and I needed to be alone, and I took off into a field that was behind the homes that I was staying in at the time. And I knew that this particular field had this outcropping and shrubs and trees and a grove that often had fox that would come and go. And fox has been a totem for me, fox for those that understand the symbolism, because our indigenous ancestors only knew how to make sense out of the signs and the symbols that existed in the natural world, right? They can't drive up behind a bumper sticker or have an 1111 receipt. They were working with the natural world. We are so spoiled these days, right? We've got so many tools. But fox is about family and devotion to the den, devotion to the pack, protection of the pack. And I'm in the process of this enormous severing of losing the family as I had envisioned it at that time in my life. And they also are masters of hiding and disguise, because it's inherent to protecting their family. It's inherent to protecting their pack that they had to learn this. And here I am, I'm vulnerable, I'm out in the open, and I am sobbing. I am a disaster. And I'm huddled under this big cottonwood tree, and I turn and I look, and there is this beautiful red fox. And it wasn't more than 5 feet away from me. And that is completely counterintuitive to fox, completely counterintuitive to my experience with fox in the past. And it felt my vulnerability and my openness to its presence, and my openness to its comforting me. at that time in my life. And it stayed and held space with me for about 20 minutes. It just held its space, completely paused, frozen, and stared at me that entire time. And I spoke to it. I thanked it for its comfort. I thanked it for its message. And I finally said, if you're ready, you can go ahead and go back to what you're committed to, which is your family and your den. I feel the message has been delivered. And it kind of shook its head, or kind of shook off its head, and it wandered away, and not with haste, with a degree of confidence that there had been nothing but an unthreatening and loving rapport with me. And this is part of what we're bringing to this concept, isn't it, Schelli? It is about waking up to the fact that our intuitive connection and our toroidal, our energetic, and our quantum fields that are always merging can be felt by every single one of us. And you're working with horses is such it's such an exact science for you, and how you are opening up this door for your clients and your students.
I want to talk about that for just a minute in terms of like who would benefit from this experience.
Everyone, but
Yeah,
yes,
right.
go
Of
ahead.
course. And so in this is a really new way of working with our own personal development. It's
Yeah. Highly evolutionary.
yeah, it's only maybe in the last 15 years that it's been gaining ground. And so for the past 10 years, most people have no idea what I'm talking about when I talk about being an Equus coach. And it's become my mission, like I said earlier, to help other Equus coaches reach more people. About a year ago, I had this epiphany that here's all these really wonderfully qualified people to help others get in alignment with their self, with their head, their heart, and their gut, to really be present in whatever industry those people are in. You don't have to be, on a spiritual journey, or want to have like the most ultimate meditation experience to come and do this work. I'm actually assisting a corporate group of 40 people this week, right? So it's about understanding how to be in relationship with yourself and with other sentient beings. And when we can bring a higher awareness of what it means to be in communication and relationship, we bring a higher level of kindness to the world. And when we bring a higher level of kindness, we have then the animals will be happier. That's one of my reasons why I do this work.
Right.
So I have a mission to help other equine assisted practitioners reach the people they're meant to reach. And it might, like for instance, I have a woman that works with blended families, right? So it's kind of like the yours, mine, and ours. I have a woman that works with other with people who are performers, who are high level performers on horses. Other people, a woman who works with people who are suffering because they can't seem to lose weight, like they're not happy with their body image. And so she works with horses and helping them get in tune with their self, with their own powerful self, so that they can just release the weight of the world. So that being said, the other people that I really am excited about working with is the people who are super, super excited about the conversation we're having right now.
Yeah.
And that's what you and I have been talking about.
Exactly.
We're cooking up something for people who are a little further down this path, who are ready to go deep into this conversation and the communication with the earth and with the animals, particularly the horses. So you want to talk a little bit about that?
I would. Those that follow Solutionary TV are aware that I work as a coach one-on-one, and that I teach energy and medical intuitive certification, as well as authoring books that really stay within that beautiful range of what is it to have intuitive energy. It is not a gift. We'd like to call it a gift. It is a skill set. It is inherent and latent in every single one of us. And it is part of that quote unquote 90% of your brain you're not using, 90% of your DNA that they say is junk DNA and not aligned. And quite honestly, we keep getting back to this again, another 95% of the unknown, unseen, but measurable universe. We have got so much to work with, people. We've got so much to bring on board. And if we are caring about what we're seeing in the world, what we're seeing with society, what we're seeing with governments, what we're seeing with nations, what we are seeing with world and global changes, because the earth is complaining. She's letting off. We've got over 23 active volcanoes. We're having massive, almost, out of sequence storms and weather patterns and hurricanes that are not in the correct season. And we're seeing a massive die off of the species. We've lost a little over half of the animal species since the 70s. And there is very good corroborative data demonstrating that this is just continuing to happen in rows in beached um, uh, whales and dolphins and other marine life. So, what are we really talking about, Schelli? We recognize that we can sign all the petitions in the world to try to hold Congress responsible or president responsible for what's happening on a massive scale, what's happening with how we are caring for, the creatures of the earth that are either beasts of burden or they end up becoming our food, and how we can become more humane. But what can we be doing individually to not only integrate our own intuitive latent abilities, bring them forward, tap on pineal gland, get that intuitive prowess awakened through the breath, through presence. I teach it, you teach it. We have merged our offerings to create an Earth and Equus certification course that is really and truly about bringing the human earth relationship back into harmony, back into a place where we are present and we're in the ever present now, where all animals actually are, if we can let ourselves just drop in at this level. So I'm thrilled because Schelli offers this with horses. I think so many of us have that are not experienced with horses see a natural draw. I think there's a natural human draw to want to connect with horses because of our karmic history, as well as, maybe our genetic history as well. But when we do that, we can't miss it, can we, Schelli? Because they're going to force us to come into the present moment and to resonate from the heart.
Right. One of the things, what you were talking about, our history with horses, is one of the things is that horses represent freedom.
Mm.
They have for such a long time, and especially with our country. But they represent freedom because in the wild, they had their beauty, their ability to. They're also family oriented,
Mhm.
right? And so their ability to navigate rugged territory and uncertainty,
Mhm.
and they're always constantly. They're always aware of their surroundings, and they're always present to what needs to happen next.
Mhm.
And so this is what we need to embody in order to move into this whole new earth vibration.
Right.
So as the new earth vibration is getting stronger and stronger, and people are feeling it, and people are feeling they feel something shifting, they feel something different, and they don't know what it is or how to navigate it or how to handle it or how to move forward.
Right.
So what Tatiana and I would like to do with what she's teaching in terms of the intuitive skill building and understanding your own intuitive powers, and that we all have different ones. Working with you really helped me
Mm.
understand where my intuitive powers are.
Mhm.
Working with the horses has helped me really fully become present in my physical body. People who are interested in astrology um, may understand when I say I'm a triple Libra. So I'm a Libra sun sign, a Libra rising, and a Libra Mercury, meaning my mind is in Libra also. So that's also triple air, and then I'm an Aquarius moon. So
Mhm.
all that's air, and all of that is of the mind. So
Mm.
I love to be in my head. I
Mhm.
love to think about things and solve puzzles and problems and things like that. And so literally my physical body used to be like I was always leading with my head because
Right.
that was my primary source of perception,
Right.
right? And so working with the horses over the last 10 years has been intrinsic in helping me become fully present in my physical body.
Wow. What a gift.
Right.
Profound gift,
Yes.
because that lack of coherence And that's what we're talking about, resonance. We use all these 50-cent words, but for the sake of our viewers, you know when you're in your heart. You know when you're breathing right and when you're not breathing right. And sometimes we've become such unconscious breathers, we forget how to breathe very, very deeply, how to bring it down through through our crown and in through our nose and then out through our mouth, and let it ease and anchor as it runs, down our spine, linear with our spine, and releases into the ground. A healthy, grounded, nurturing breath. And this is what the horses are assisting us to do: is, are you feeling in your vehicle? Are you breathing into and expansive in your vehicle? Are you comfortable when you walk up next to me because you are grounded and you are present? And so I'm excited to have the augmentative opportunity of working with Schelli. Our goal here, though, is to talk about New Earth and how you can be implementing this at home right now, how you can be resonating. We've got some crazy news coming out, folks. We've been told, and I hope that you Google this. I'm not going to be sending everybody to all the different websites, but I promise you can find it. It has been announced that by 2045, we will cease aging. How many of you have heard this? We're going to cease aging because we've already figured out the science to change our telomeres, to be able to lengthen our telomeres. It was this crazy news that shot around the globe in the last week that we already have the science straight out of Jurassic Park. That we have the DNA and we have the science, because we are already cloning humans. We've already been cloning, human parts and organs, that we can actually clone using dinosaur DNA that was found very similar to the way that Hollywood showed us. We're going to have dinosaurs in 5 years or less. The world is changing so quickly. AI is everywhere. All you have to do is have a conversation with your spouse about going to Walmart, and a Walmart ad is going to show up. In fact, she's going to reroute you from your family plans to the beach. She's going to take you to the closest Walmart because she's eavesdropping. If we are not awakening to our latent abilities of intuition and thereby discernment, we are damning ourselves. This is a gift and an awakening opportunity to recognize, as I become present, as I recognize that the world is changing profoundly and with implications we really can't even begin to fully assimilate. The wake-up call and the soft and loving invitation is: integrate your own abilities. And how do we best do that? The breath and the presence. And a lot of us are struggling with the breath and the presence. How often are we going outside and being one with the sentient life all around us? What animals, what beautiful and highly evolved animal life exists out there that is actually offering, because of their own heart and their mind coherence, a gift for us to be able to align and work with them so that they can ease us into this new earth concept, ease us into this degree of groundedness and presence. And it really sounds like the success that Schelli has had and other practitioners that are equine coaches has been profound. If you can go and swim with the dolphins, swim the dolphins. If you've got a wonderful dog that you can connect with, absolutely. But I really want to talk about, again, why this is such an exquisite opportunity to do what you're doing, Schelli, so that any of our viewers that are interested in your work can take a look at it. Let's direct them to your website and your book, which
Sure.
I think is really important right now.
Sure. Well, my website is SchelliWhitehouse.com, and it's spelled Schelli, Whitehouse, WHITEHOUSE.com, SchelliWhitehouse.com.
Show them your book.
Here's my book. It's The Business of Coaching with Horses: How to Reach More Clients, Feed Your Horses, and Change the World, because that's what this is about.
Yes.
It's literally about changing the world. That's the bigger picture.
It is.
Right? That is the bigger picture, is that the more people that we can reach, we're changing the world. Do I have time to share one more little story?
Please, yes.
Okay. Well, I want to share I think it's like my initiation to this work. I wanted to have an experience of working with the horses. I'd read about it and I was really tuned into it and excited about it. So I found somebody that is an equine facilitator, and I went to her place, and we went out into this big field. There was about 8 horses out there. I didn't know which horse was hers, and they were just grazing and not paying any attention to me. I was somebody that had horse experience, but I'd never had the kind of encounter. I didn't have the relationship with horses that I've been talking about, the way the communication that I've been talking about here tonight, and it was something that I was really deeply wanting. So I went out into the herd and I visited with several of the horses, and then she asked me to choose one to spend a few minutes with. So I chose a horse, and we just stood there together, and he was grazing, and I just started petting him and moving my hands around his body. And I got kind of towards the backside of his body, and I just felt a lot of energy in my hands. Now, I'd never had that experience before. I know people who are Reiki practitioners and energy workers often feel energy in their hands. I had never had that experience. I felt a lot of heat and energy in my hands, and that was new to me. So I was staying there for a long time, and she asked me what was happening, and I told her that I was having all this energy, and she said, "Well, I'm sure it's feeling really good for him too." She said, "Would you just stand beside him for a moment?" So I did, and he stopped eating, and we were both just standing there, and I felt this huge, enormous wave of heat and light. Literally, it was light just come pouring through me and out my hands and out my feet. And I just started sobbing, like just tears. I couldn't stop the tears. And and the woman who was facilitating started crying. We just were both standing there crying, and it wasn't because I said anything or asked for anything or did anything. It was just this incredible energy. And she finally says, "What is happening?" And I was like, "I don't know. I've never had this happen before." And she said, "Well, could you describe it?" And I said, "All it's love. It's love. That's all. It's love. I don't know what else to call it. It was
Mhm.
just love." And the horse was standing there with me the whole time, didn't move. He was free to go anywhere he wanted to. We were
Mhm.
just out in the pasture, and the other horses were standing nearby, but they weren't doing anything, they were just standing nearby. So after about a minute of that, she's like, "Take a deep breath," and so I stopped crying, and I just was, like, vibrating all over and sweating, and I didn't know what else to think, but, oh my gosh, I had dreams and, like, my whole life changed after that, and I knew this is what I wanna do.
Yes.
This is it was like an initiation. This is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Mhm.
And now I've met other people that have had a similar experience. People have come and worked with me and had a similar experience. Not everybody does. People have small experiences that are actually just as impactful
Yeah.
or more, but
That was an initiation for you, though. That
it
was
was it was
beautiful.
an initiation for me, and it's what we're talking about in terms of understanding. Literally, my vibration was raised.
Yeah.
I became a different person that day. I was changed on a cellular level. Working with the horses, especially over an extended period of time, will change you on a cellular level. We literally, revise our limbic system,
Mhm.
right? Which is your nervous system and how you think and perceive.
Mhm.
And you can, again, read about it, talk about it, but when you actually experience it, and you can experience it for an extended period of time, even if it's a few days period of time, you will actually change,
Mhm. Mhm.
and changing to another level of vibration. And you can go back to the older vibration but it won't feel good,
Right. You'll be out of
right?
resonance with it.
Exactly.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I know that we have a lot of viewers that are following what is happening with the earth. They recognize that we are in a completely different time in human
Mhm.
history. This is an era of human evolution. And I encourage all of our viewers, take a look at Shelley's work, take a look at work like Shelley's, build off of this, because for our ability to align ourselves with an ascension transition to a lighter, finer density, to something that we've been told is part of our original DNA blueprint and our inherited prowess. How can we stop aging if we didn't already have the ability to do it? Do we need to wait for science and technology, or can we start to breathe and ground and anchor and resonate the lengthening of our telomeres, the inherent and natural healing that is our cellular intelligence, what it's designed to do, and what tools do we have available to us to get into that place of presence, calm, certainty, and anchoredness. And it's the natural world. Unquestionably, it's the natural world. If we want to experience an earth that is beautiful and that offers us a safe place for ourselves, our children, our grandchildren, it starts with our presence, doesn't it, Schelli? And the gift that these horses have been able to assist you with. Tell our viewers in just the last few moments the ultimate goal of this new offering as it's coming together, and how you see yourself playing a role in it.
Yes. Well, so for both of us, um, it's the merging of the two that is so powerful. I believe, obviously, the work with the horses is incredibly powerful. And how can we take that even to the next level? And that's where you come in terms of your ability to help people weave that new superpower, I call them, to literally weave that new superpower into um, our present circumstances. Like you said, moving into a whole other vibration and taking that learning, whether it's into every aspect of your life. And I like to think of it in terms of it's really a whole other level of manifestation. It's that manifesting from the energy of love.
Mm-hmm.
What was my experience?
Mm-hmm.
And it's taken 10 years to
Yes.
get to that place where I actually see it happening in real time now.
Oh, isn't that exciting?
Yeah.
It's so exciting. I want to share with our viewers because this is something you and I have discussed. For those of us that are doing a great deal of meditating, and I have to be walking my talk, that is definitely a huge, huge aspect of my day-to-day experience is going within, checking out of the avatar that I'm flying in, this person, Dr. Tatiana Irvin, and all that she is in the world in terms of wife and mother and neighbor and you name it. In my meditations, when I can feel into the frequency of our current earth plane, the timeline that we're on, I have felt this enormous letdown, this vacancy of enough love, of enough companionship, of compassion, and an unconditional vibration of acceptance. And I've called out to the universe, there isn't enough love. And unquestionably, every time what comes back is make more.
Mm.
It's your responsibility to make more. It is our responsibility, Schelli, isn't it? Viewers, you know this. It's our responsibility to be what we seek, to emulate what it is that we are trying to magnify, and then allow the resonance to take place. So we are welcoming you to consider another tool, another implementation, another step forward in being able to get into that resonant space. Calling in the new earth means acknowledging what is out of sequence with this earth and stepping up and aligning with it. And how can we do that? We have had beautiful, intelligent, magnificent creatures on this planet waiting. How long? Waiting for us to get it. Sharpen up. Pay attention, people. And horses have really been forerunners amongst them, haven't they, Schelli?
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you that are going, oh my God, I want to be part of this. You can contact me through my website. Facebook is Equine Inspired Life. Equine is EQUINE, Equine Inspired Life. That's Equine Inspired Life on Facebook. And just drop a message or find me at Schelli Whitehouse and drop a message. And Tatiana and I will make sure that we contact you in the coming weeks about when and time and all of that. It'll be in the fall when it's much cooler here in Raleigh, North Carolina.
It'll be spectacular,
Yes,
actually.
it will.
It is like being in Maine or Maryland, but a little bit warmer and last a little bit longer. It's actually quite beautiful here. Schelli, thank you for joining us tonight. I know that hour went by just like that because we can't say enough about what it is to be evolving. We're spiritually and evolving as human life, and it is such a thrill to know that we have accompaniment along the way, don't we? And I want to thank our guests. Thank you for coming back faithfully every week. Thank you for spreading the word. Thank you for picking up subscriptions on our YouTube channel. We can't do this without you, and you're the only reason why we're doing this, honestly. Otherwise, we could just talk into our mirror. Thank you for our sponsors and our patrons. This is the content that we're talking about. This is what we want to keep bringing back to you. We are stepping into the Ascension series via Solutionary TV. There is going to be a lot more intimate dialogue, Starting the first week in July, we are going to be taking your calls. We're going to be welcoming you to our chat rooms. This is really going to get a lot more back and forth and welcoming your dialogue. So I want to remind you, check in with us every Monday. And I want to also remind you, together and only together, we are the solution.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.